Hi, my name's Kelly Williams. I do Nasquatch, and you're listening to Southern Fried Geekery.
So there was a lot of dick in this book. I was unprepared for the amount of penis that was gonna.
There is some dick in this book.
Yeah, kind of caught me off guard.
Peni. Peni is the plural of penises.
Yeah. Is there like an what do you call an omnibus of penis? Is that like an omnibus peni?
Yes.
Anyway,
from this day forward.
Anyway, so this is the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. Welcome back to another episode, an exciting episode. I am, of course, Caleb Alexander McKenzie, one of your hostess with the mostest. I almost said hostesses with the mostesses, but that would be gender incorrect. But yeah, who else is with me today?
Matt Trogdon.
And I'm Craig Lance.
And we are going to be flying solo, or well, I guess
flying tree,
and with just
the lone wolves.
Yeah, just with no cubs.
Wait, you can't use wolves plural with lone.
It's like a little wolf pack. Anyway, so this is episode 86, and we are going to be talking about a whole bunch of news and stuff today. But first, if you have enjoyed our podcast so far, and we really hope you have, these last 86 freaking episodes, I can't believe it. 86 episodes, guys. It's been awesome. You need to come hang out with us on our social media pages. That's where you can find us when we're not sitting here eating our brunch, having mimosas with, well, I wish we had mimosas. That'd be great.
That's what we're going to start doing.
We should have mimosas.
We have to start recording earlier.
Yeah.
We should start having mimosas.
I'm not opposed to mimosas and coffee are a great idea.
Mimosas.
Coffee. You can have coffee.
Like a protein shake.
That'll work.
It's champagne and we'll find some.
It's orange juice. It's healthy, you fucking.
No, it's not.
I've got to find a way to have like carb-free orange juice so I can have some.
Ugh.
Just put alcohol in it. It makes it carb-free.
I mean, the alcohol content does counteract the carbs and
science, folks.
Yes. Right? Yeah.
Come here for do not take your diabetic advice from Craig.
Come here for all your nutritional advice.
So anyway, come hang out with us on our Facebook page. We're at SFG on Twitter, and we're at SFG Podcast on the Instagrams. And I don't think we have any other social media sites, do we? We have YouTube, but is that really a social media site?
I wasn't paying attention. Which ones did you say?
We have a Facebook group, and we have a Twitter and an Instagram page.
Thanks for joining the show, Craig.
So it'll be okay. You can also find our stuff on YouTube, but, we don't read those comments. He'll be all right. 308.
Sorry.
So, no, it's okay.
Don't forget short stack since we're paused anyways because you didn't put it on the deal.
Yeah, I've got it. So how's everybody doing this week?
Doing good, man.
Doing good.
Matt, you've got some life changes happening, don't you?
Yeah. Start a new job on Monday. Pretty excited about that. So it's a life transition.
Sweetness.
So, yeah, hopefully it's a smooth one.
I started law school this week. I'm terrified.
Ooh, boy, that is a mountain to climb, bro.
I don't know what to do.
You're strong.
I'm lost. I'm lost and can't find my way.
I'm just cruising along.
You're
all starting new shit, and I'm just cruising along doing my thing.
You're the old man of the group. You've started your new shit. You're just going to coast.
I wish that were true.
You get to coast on Easy Street from here on out. That's what I want for you.
It'd be nice.
It would be. Did you guys read any cool things this week? Because I did. I have a really cool short stack prepped.
All right.
You want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah.
All right, I'll start. So this week I read some hotness. And I read a book that I tried the first issue of, didn't care for it, so put it down. But I heard a new artist was on it. So I read, and this is going to shock the shit out of you, Craig, I read Fantastic Four number 12.
Wow.
Why? Why, you ask? I read it because Sean Isaacs is doing the art on it. And I've been following that dude's career for a hot minute now. And I think he's fantastic. I love the work he's done on things like Avengers, No Road Home. I think he did some Lion Forge books that I read way back in the day. He's a great dude, South African artist, just freaking amazing. I also read a little graphic novel that I picked up this week called Fuck Off Squad. Because, number one, it's named Fuck Off Squad. I can't not read it. It is by Nicole Gao and Dave Baker. Really, really cool. LA teen, not teens, LA young adults trying to figure life out, dealing with relationship problems. A little queer action happening there. Just rock and roll punk. Just LA. It's super good. The entire book is done in ink, just black ink and pink. Just shades of pink. It's fucking rad. Huh. And I also started what's going to be a long journey. Just kind of I'm gonna try to make my way through it. I might get done by the time I'm done with law school in 3 years. But I started the Lone Wolf and Cub series by Keizu Koke and Goseki Kojima. I don't know if this qualifies as a manga or not. It may. I'm not really sure. It's very Japanese, but it's regular comic style. So it's not left right to left. It's
American manga. I think is how it's classified.
And it's so good. It's so good, dude. If you haven't read that book, you need to, because it's just
or it's American comic books done in manga style, I guess would be.
I don't know. So I need to look at historically. I'm not sure if it was originally done in manga and it's just been reversed and reverted to comic style. I don't need to know any of that. That's just it's good. The dude he's a Ronin samurai. He's traveling around doing Ronin samurai jobs with his kid, with his baby. He's got a little toddler. That's the cub that he takes with him. And in a moment of awesomeness, because his wife gets killed, he puts a sword in the ground and a ball, like a little kid's ball, in front of the baby, and he's like, pick. You choose. Because if you choose the sword, you're going to come with me on the assassin's journey. If you choose the ball, I'm going to kill you. And you're going to go be with your mom for a little bit until I get killed, and I'll come join you in the afterlife. And the kid chooses the sword because he's fucking metal. It was great.
Wow.
Parenting.
Yeah, he's not a good dad.
I was going to say, I mean, I was a single parent, and I never offered my kids that choice.
It was great. He may not win Father of the Year, but it's a good story.
Probably not.
No.
Who wants to read that story of Father of the Year anyway?
I mean, so a real life story is my daughter Tanya actually nominated me for Father of the Year one year.
And you win.
No, I did not. I finished, I think, second in the running.
Wow. Dude, that's
some
rad.
awards and shit. Yeah.
You should have won.
She wrote an essay. I still have that essay somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, that's nice. Actually really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I have a certificate that says Father of the Year something.
Runner up.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Fuck that other guy.
Yeah, fuck him.
I'm getting you a Father of the Year mug.
Recount.
Yeah.
Florida. What'd you read this week, Craig?
I read Red Sonja, Lord of Fools by Mark Russell, Bob W., and Katie O'Meara, Deborah Kelly. I love this book. So far out of the Red Sonja books that Mark Russell's done, it was my favorite in the series so far. It's the one that feels the most like Mark Russell to me. I've really liked the Red Sonja run he's doing, but it hasn't felt real Mark Russell-ish to me. This one actually did. You got into some politics and some things like that, so that was pretty awesome. Postal Deliverance #2 by Brian Hill and Raphael Ainco, I think is how you say his name. This continues to just deliver street-level brutality that Matt Hawkins started in Postal. Brian Hill's just finishing or I should say Matt and Raphael started in Postal, and Brian's just stepped in writing the characters as well as Hawkins did, almost seamlessly in my opinion. Paper Girls #30, which was the end of that book series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brian K. Vaughan, Cliff Chang, Matt Wilson, and Jared Fletcher. It was a good series. On the Brian K. Vaughan scale, it's on the lower end for me. But it was still a really good series. It's worth the read. Pick it up in trades.
So I haven't read that. A lot of people make comparisons of that to like Stranger Things. Is there like a bridge there?
There's some. Yeah. It's teenage girls they're paper girls, and they get in some sort of time travel thing. So if time travel's not your deal, stay the hell away from it. There's future versions of them, and it gets really convoluted. It's a good story because Brian K. Vaughan's a hell of a writer, but it's not at the top of the Brian K. Vaughan stuff.
Yeah.
But that's, also, you got Hickman, you got Vaughan, you got Lemire, you got certain people that you expect certain levels from. And they have their own sliding scale. So, an D Brian K. Vaughan book is still an A- for everybody else.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll go back and finish Saga now.
I think he was wanting to wrap this up and where he could devote his full attention. And then there was some stuff with Fiona was wanting to do some other work.
Gotcha. Sweetness.
So
what you got for us?
So I read Second Coming #2, Ahoy Comics. Mark Russell, that guy's name keeps coming up in our show.
He does.
Richard Pace, Leonard Kirk, and Andy Troy. I really dug this. To me, this one was just as strong as the first issue.
I thought it was stronger.
I think it was funnier.
I laughed through the whole fucking thing.
The first page, I burst out laughing. Sharper image? Yeah. I lost my shit, man. I lost my shit. So
the policeman throwing up in the background. Too.
Yeah. Ill-advised costume. Yeah, it's hilarious. And I usually, for what it's worth, shy away from religious material, but this is just too good. It's really good. Reaver number 2 also. I read that. Of course, that is also Image Comics from Justin Jordan, Rebecca Isaacs, and Alex Ramirez. The first issue was as we discussed during our roundtable, was a real solid debut issue. The second issue has really got me hooked. Now my interest is definitely peaked on the second issue, so I want to see where this goes. Definitely.
For some reason, I did not get that book in my pull list.
Really?
So I need to check with that. But I'm signed up for Justin's Patreon. I'll get it.
Yeah.
It'll just be in a little while.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, get on that one. And then I wrapped up actually a biography about George S. Patton called Patton, A Genius for War by Carlo D'Este. And I bring this one up because this guy's life he's so unique. He is like so many characters that you read about. So if you have any interest in true life war stories and the people that make an impact on those wars, I highly recommend this book. In short, Patton was very unique because so many people go into the military and then they use that military experience to transition into some kind of leadership role in either the private sector or into government to run for government office.
Right.
And of course, Patton was a star of his day, and he was the most famous general the United States Army Armed Forces had. But when he was approached to run for some kind of government office upon the end of World War II, he immediately, without hesitation, told them to kiss his ass. This was not a politician. He was a warrior, and it really, you read the story about him, it feels like he was born 1,000 years too late.
Yeah,
it was great.
He was still in service during Korea, right?
No,
okay.
No, he died at the end of World War II in a
did
car
he?
wreck.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's really something. You get this feeling of destiny reading his life story because
that was what he was meant to do, and once it was done, he
came so close to death countless times, and then he dies in a car wreck at the end of the war on his way to a pheasant hunt. You're like, my God, this is it reads like a movie. How could this is incredible?
Yeah.
It was something else.
He checked all the boxes on his list.
He did, man. He did.
I'd eat unsuspecting soldiers who wouldn't get back out and serve. No, I'm playing.
Yeah. I mean,
he did all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not what he should be remembered for.
He paints a full picture, all the ugly things and all.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've been telling me about this book for a little bit, so
you've been talking about it for.
Well,
a while.
It's over 800 pages, so it took some time.
It's a beast. It is a beast. Well, you already talked about some comics.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about a comic.
Yes.
Let's lay out the family meal. Craig's been after me to call it the family meal for a little bit, and I keep forgetting, but I finally did my job.
I saw that.
And put it on the thing.
You're going to clean your plates, kids.
So I guess we're going to start off.
Plate.
Yeah. We're going to start off by, number one, telling you that this is a comic review, and this is a book that came out this past week, and it is brand new. So if you have not read it, here's your spoiler warning. We're talking about White Trees by Chip Zdarsky, Kris Anka, and Matt Wilson. And number one, it was fantastic. But number two, again, spoiler warning. We're not gonna hold back from talking about the tenets of the book, because how can you really do that and dive into it? I don't think you can. Not with any quality to what you've got to say. So White Trees. Before we really kick off and get going, what did you guys think? Thumbs up or thumbs down on this book?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Hard thumbs up.
Yeah, hard thumbs up. Well, hard?
Y'all remember them?
I'll go with thumbs up.
Foreshadowing.
Lots of things up. So what is this book? Let's talk about it. So this book is, again, Chip Zdarsky, Kris Anka, and Matt Wilson. It's a little bit of a fantasy story, which...
Fantasy is all over the fucking place in comics right now. And most of them, for the main part, are good.
At least
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
At least the ones we're reading. But I worry that it is getting oversaturated.
Yeah, there's a lot of fantasy books right now. If it's your genre, you need to be checking out comic books because they're all over the place.
There's a lot. There's a
lot of good ones.
Yeah. So this one kicks off. There's this individual. His name is Sir Krylos the Bold. He's kind of a human guy, but he's got really bright and shiny blue eyes. He is being called in called in before the king, so to speak. He's got to come to the castle, and as he's in there, he gets there. he gets announced, and they do all the royalties and all the flattery and this, that, and the other. About the same time, these two other figures get called in, and they are Sir Scott. I'd say Scottier. Is that how you guys pronounce
I was
his
saying Sodier, but I don't know.
Yeah, and he's kind of a lion dude. He's kind of like an anthropomorphic lion man,
No,
and
he's the elf. Sodier's the elf.
Yeah.
Are y'all sure?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm positive.
Okay, maybe I just got that back mixed up. So I guess Sir Davlin is the lion.
Yes. Yeah.
And Sir Scodiar of Black Sand is the elf.
Yes.
And he's an elf.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, I mixed
He's
those
elf
two up.
looking. He's got elf ears, but he is built like
Elvish.
a brick house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas
he's stacked.
generally speaking, elves are like lithe and
Yeah.
smaller.
No,
but
this dude, he's been working out. He's kind of swole.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize for mixing those names up. in
No,
my
dude.
notes.
I mean, it's 3 new characters. It's
yeah.
bound to happen.
He wears wedges.
he
You notice
does.
that?
Yeah.
I did not notice.
He wears
that.
wedges.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. This book is great. So anyway, they get called in to speak to the king, and they get some bad news. And this bad news is that collectively, their kids have been kidnapped. And I say that Sir Krylos's kid has been kidnapped, and Sir Delvin, the Lion Man, his daughter has been kidnapped, and they've been taken by this enemy kingdom, this neighboring group who they've had a lot of trouble with. There's been a lot of war going on for a long time. There's really a very contentious relationship there, and they're known as the Trelawneyans.
Yeah.
And of course they're all just like, well, no, like this doesn't make any sense. How would they get both of our kids? Why would they get both of our kids at the
My
same time?
kid's out fishing.
Yeah, this is
on
like
a schooner. Or
one
something.
dude is taking it like he's on vacation, and they're not like the other guy's like, I mean, my daughter's just not like, this doesn't make any sense. Well, it turns out in a very Shakespearean move done by Chip Zdarsky that the two kids are kind of having this lovers rendezvous. They've been having a secret tryst, a secret affair that they've been keeping from at least their fathers.
Yeah, because the two dads have a little bit.
Yeah,
of a
there's
trife
there's
going
some
on.
there's some history there.
Trift. Is that trift or trift?
Sure.
Whatever.
There's some.
You're
history
the English
there.
major.
I'm working on it. Oh no, I'm done with that one. Anyway,
Yeah.
So they had met up at this cabin, just kind of on the border, I guess, at least close to the Trelawney border, and that's where they were meeting up to have their affair, their little love affair, and that's where they got taken by Trelawneyans. They swooped up. So, I mean, as you might expect, you get at least from two of the individuals, you get the response you expect. Scottier and Davlin, they're not having it. Like, they're going to go get their daughter back. And when I say their daughter, that's because this is about the time you find out that Sir Scottier and Sir Davlin are a couple. They are together. They are, and that's why he's there. That this is their daughter.
And you meet the biological mom.
Yeah, she shows up. She shows up later on. But Krylos, this dude's got a whole lot of PTSD. He's got a whole lot of baggage. He's kind of just broken by the effects of war. You find out his wife has been murdered. He's just going to kind of sit this one out and just kind of mope around while the king tries to use diplomacy to get kids back. He's positive. He's sure that his interference in this would just fuck everything up, as has been the case. He put down a sword because of all this. He's a farmer now. He doesn't want to ruin it with his involvement, and he's just kind of a broken soldier. He's lost the will to fight, and really, on some levels, he's lost the will to live. You can just see the sadness, and this is where color comes in so much because you see those bright eyes. You just see the sadness all in there.
The art is spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
When especially to the emoting of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
But because of this, he expresses this, and then Davlin goes to Krylos. Scodier goes to Krylos. I got to get my names back on track. He goes to Krylos, and he just gives him a really strong talking to. He's like, "Man, how are you doing this? Like this, like we used to be legends. Like we fought the wars. I just don't understand you. You used to be something else. You used to be this person.
Bold.
Yeah, like you were the one we all turned to, and now you're just a shell. But that's fine. If you need to sit this one out, you do what you need to do, and we'll handle it.
Yeah, and if you want to go, we're leaving at dawn and come get some armor. We got some for you.
Right. And because of the story, I mean, it'd be a pretty boring story if he didn't show up because of the way the story works. He does, in fact, show up.
Interesting story. If Bilbo Baggins had stayed home instead of going with the dwarves. I mean,
here's his character. He's sad. That's all you're going to know of him.
These other two showed up. They tried to get Bilbo to go. He wouldn't go. They left. End of story.
So he does. He shows up the next morning. He's actually ready before they are. He's on his horseback, and they're ready to get going, and they do. So they set out, and they head towards the cabin where the kids were abducted from. And because they're going to look for clues, right? They have to figure out, that they got to find somewhere to start. They don't know where they are. They don't know how to get there. They don't know where they're being kept. So Devlin enters the cabin first, and he is met with a knife to his throat. Who is this person that's sticking the knife to his throat? Well, it's none other than a character named Malala. And she is a lioness. And it turns out that she is his ex-wife and the mother of their young daughter, who is missing. And so, she had the same idea. She was like, I found out about this. I'm going after my daughter. She shows up, and apparently the landlord has told her kind of what's going on. And, of course, Devlin's like, what do you mean the landlord? The landlord? Like, well, did you know about the affair they were having? And she's like, well, yeah, I actually have a good relationship with our daughter. And she tells me things, and this is probably a good cue to you. You need to work on your parental skills because she doesn't talk to you about these things.
I'll go stab people.
This was the moment where the little guy pops in the window and goes, message! Did you remember that movie? You might know where that's referenced from?
No.
Oh, you guys have to see Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that, but it's been way too long.
Yeah,
I've forgotten.
Never forget.
I remember.
Yeah. Never forget. Anyway, Malola's a badass. And she's more like this rogue figure. She's not hulking around with giant battle axes and stuff. She's got her daggers. Her and Scodier actually have a really, really great rapport. Which was surprising, because especially when you think about this, she's the ex-wife. The husband has now started a relationship with another man. He's the stepfather to her child. There is a lot of potential for bad blood there, but in what I think is a really positive move and a great move on the part of Zdarsky, they actually have she's got a better relationship with her ex-husband's new partner than she does her ex-husband. And they, there's a little back and forth there, and they're both concerned about their child. Really cool co-parenting. Again, that's where the guy pops up and goes, message. It was awesome. So as they look around, the first clue that they find is this little blood pools on the cabin floor. And fortunately, if you're looking for your kid and you show up to where they're kidnapped, you find a pool of blood, and it's going to be scary. Fortunately, they're able to tell that this is Trelawney blood. It's not the blood of either of their children. And Scodier can track it. Part of his elven magic, his, I guess you'd call it a racial trait, if you were playing D&D, is that he is able to track these people based on their blood.
Also, the first hint that just because they're children doesn't mean they're weak.
Right.
Yeah. They put up a battle.
They stuck some folks. You got to shank somebody. If you're having a secret affair and other dudes bust in trying to kidnap you, you throw a bow.
Well, if you have 4 parent figures that are all ex-warriors and retired warriors, and they get taken easily, it'd be like, just a typical fantasy. But the fact that they put up a fight.
If you're the lion creature, you've got claws, presumably. Yeah. So, if you're a part lion, you better put up a fight.
Yeah.
I'm calling you a bitch if you don't. Because you're a fucking lion. I married a lion. This is how this works. So they get going. They're tracking the blood, and the trio set out. They leave Malala behind. She's going to she's going to wait.
She's got her own plans.
Yeah, she's kind of convinced that they're, these Trelawneyans may circle back, that they may try to spring a trap based on, maybe they were trying to coax the parents in, which kind of makes sense. I think it was more of a way to kind of write her out of the picture.
I think she's got a story.
Yeah.
I think that it's probably is both a trap and moving forward.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't have enough of a record on Zdarsky to say whether he's that good yet or not.
On some level, I think this is it's meant to be a boys on the road figure. So we introduce you to the mom. We explain how the gay guys have a kid because that needs to be explained. And she's got other things to do. That's just I think it was a little bit of a shoehorn thing.
We'll see.
So they follow the blood trail, and it leads them as they're going. It leads them to a sort of like a bottlenecked gateway. They're in kind of this valley. There's mountainous crags on both sides. Not like Craig, but like other Craigs.
Not like our
Crags.
mountainous Craig.
Right?
Crags.
Yes. Which would be a great character name for one of these characters.
Little diversion. My mom named me Craig because of Crags and Hard Rock.
Oh, nice. See, you've been rocking hard since birth.
Yep.
So anyway, they get to this little bottleneck, and it turns out this place is being guarded by a dragon. Just because of the type of story it is, you got to have a fucking dragon. So Scodier and Davlin, they jump into action. They're like, yeah, no, we got to kill this dragon. It's in our way, and it's a dragon. They breathe fire, and the only way you kill a dragon, at least in this world, is by shooting shit down its throat. So they're like, get its mouth open. That's how we're going to do this. But Krylos takes a little bit of a different approach, which is kind of in line with the character that he set up. He's just gonna mope. He's a sad boy. He's a sad boy throughout this whole thing.
He's got no soul left.
Yeah, he's not interested. He kind of just walks up to the dragon and looks him in the eye. They make this contact, and again, I said earlier, he's got these shiny, bright blue eyes. He's you can see into the windows of his soul, and he's just broken. And the dragon, instead of eating him, it's kind of lets him walk past him. He's like, what's this dude doing? This is interesting. And he walks up to this chain that's anchored to the ground, and he breaks it. Krylos breaks the chain, and the dragon flies away. And so, he takes the other approach. They don't have to kill this creature. He sets it free. And, if Zdarsky is the type of writer I think Zdarsky is, you're going to get more dragon later. He made a dragon friend. That's going to show up. I hope. I want more dragons. This dragon was awesome. The design, Anka's design for the dragon was beautiful. Killer.
Yeah.
So good.
Tattoo worthy.
Yeah, right. They get to this spot and they make a camp. They're going to take a load off, spend the night there. Krylos decides that he needs to go off and he's going to kill dinner. Not Krylos.
Here comes the dick.
Oh, yeah.
Take a load off, you say?
Yes. Krylos is going to go buy dinner. He borrows Scodier's bow and arrow and he walks off in the woods. While he's away, some magic happens, both in the book and meta magic. It was magical. It was glorious. This is my favorite part of the story. Because of the dick. Yeah, I know. It's fun, right? So these kind of strange neon fairy figures show up. And so if you're bringing a little bit of D&D, a little bit of fantasy magic in there, these creatures are acting like sirens. What they're doing is they are attempting to seduce the parties and just stifle any movement that they're making. I mean, any forward momentum that they had. They're going to just, I guess, sit there and magic fuck them until they die, which is not a bad way to go in my personal opinion.
I kind of picture them more as succubi.
Yeah, I think there's a mix of both. I think there's
maybe drain their souls while they're.
Yeah, I thought of the Odyssey.
Yeah,
when I read this.
Yeah. So anyway, they all break into a magic gay ass orgy, which was a magic gay ass orgy.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I say gay, but it was just a magic orgy for everybody. Yeah. They all get naked and jump into a pile. They almost
Krylos who isn't there.
Well, but see, they're with Krylos too.
Yeah, it's not in that orgy. He's having his own orgy out in the woods.
See, when you split the party, magic dicks show up. Yeah, that's what happens when you split the party.
Yeah, as a DM, I totally support people splitting the party, hoping for some magic dick. So I'm going to encourage that in my parties from now on.
and so it's super cool though, right? Because this is a very sexually fluid thing. There's men, there's women, everybody's having sex. Everybody's just enjoying themselves. I personally think it's cool because Davos, the big lion creature, who is very masculine, he's a very masculine figure. He's the first one to put a dick in his mouth. I think that's great. Because it's playing with what people might consider stereotypical tropes of masculinity. He's the first one to go to that point. And they almost entice Scodier and Devlin. Almost. Krylos is, man, he's really just he's a sad boy. He's just really too broken of a man. So you get this pixie figure, this siren, she's attempting to, and she just walks up and she kisses him, looks him in the eye. She pulls back, and she's just like, there's nothing there. There's no happiness. There's nothing for me to latch onto. And she just disintegrates except for a skull. She just turns into nothing. She floats away. Meanwhile, back at camp, in my brain, Scodier and Devlos fucked them all and then decided they should go away.
I mean, Scodier does run out with his dick still completely hard.
Oh yeah, and he tells Devlin, he's like I know you're upset, you need this, and I want you to have it, but just keep in mind these are
that's all good partners.
Yeah, right? They want this for him. It's great. Take notes at home, kids. This is how you should treat your better half when they need some loving. They should get it.
They need some dick. They should get it.
Just healthy relationship goals. Fucking love it. Roger's going to listen. This is going to be the one episode that Roger listens to, and I'm going to get divorced. So he's sitting at home going, no,
honey, on the show I play a character.
Yeah,
it's a character, honey.
Yeah, but Yeah, so
take the Rush Limbaugh defense.
They right, they are able to also break this spell, and when they show back up, after, like I said, in my opinion, they ultimately they go ahead and do the do because that's what they deserve that. But ultimately, they remember that they are on a rescue mission, and that their love for their daughter, it helps them break whatever spell these sirens might have them under, and they realize it's just a trap, and they also ultimately fade away. And that's kind of where our story breaks off at. It ends with a flashback scene, and which, to me, I understand why it was there. I still feel like it's kind of filler because, like, everything that you took from that you understood, you kind of already got through some other dialogue in the story, but it needed to be there on some sense.
I think he's trying to give the strained relationship between Krylos and his son.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely what he's doing.
So I interpret that differently than you guys did, apparently. So what I took from the last page is, so obviously Krylos is in mourning over his wife.
Yes.
And because it alludes to in the book that when he got news of his wife dying, he immediately left in the middle of a battle.
Yeah, he just dropped his sword and walked off the battle. And
Davlon still holds that against him because by him walking off in the middle of the battle, they had soldiers die as a result. Yeah. Well, he's still in that mourning. It's like that just happened.
Yeah.
In this flashback showing his son basically flippantly referring to the mother's death instigated a reaction out of him. Yeah. He struck his son. So I read into that. This is where we're gonna get a rise out of Krylos, is that kind of reference.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but it's a mixture of both. He is his son is an artist, and they found a piece of art in the cabin. It's showing that, not only when he found out his wife died, Krylos not only gave up his warrior spirit, he also became kind of a shitty dad. Like he's broken in all aspects of his life. He's shattered, and it's ruined every relationship he had. He's clinging to the last vestige of a good relationship, which was his wife, and that memory of his wife it strained everything about him, even his relationship with his son. Which there's also this, that's also a trope, right? The coming of age story of a son where he gets in a fight with his dad. Like, that's a thing that happens. And I mean, like I said, really it shows us the dynamics of their very contentious father-son relationship. It's showing the barrier that Krylos is going to have to overcome to get his relationship back with his son, to get his relationship back with whatever spirit he has left in him, to build some bridges. And we're going to get all this in one more issue because, as far as I know, this is only a 2-issue series.
That's what it says.
Yeah. And I hope that we get some more, because if you read the title, it says The White Trees, a Black Sandtail. And I hope that means we're getting other Black Sandtails. Yes. I want more of this. I think this is fantastic. But as we said earlier, because of the saturation of these fantasy series, these D&D-esque type things, I think it's cool to do these little mini-series, little one-shots, because, I mean, how many ongoings do we have right now? Like, if you look at our short stacks of the past few weeks alone, or today, there's a lot of fantasy stuff going on. So I think
there's a lot.
I think Zdarsky is smart by doing this.
For me, technically, the art in this book was where it shined. I mean, it's well written, don't get me wrong, but the art in this book, both the pencil, or all three, the pencils, the inks, and the coloring, is just amazing to me in this book.
No, for sure. Anka's leveled up. So, have you guys seen Anka before? Have you guys read stuff?
Not that I know of.
So, he was drawing Miss Marvel for a little bit. He's been on some X Factor stuff. And, fortunately Sean's not here. He did some Runaway stuff. He was the artist on some of Rainbow Rowell's Runaway stuff.
Oh, okay.
If you go back and look at those pencils, like, they are not the same.
Yeah.
Like he got the little mushroom. He got bigger, like a Mario figure or something.
The flower,
because he just
fireball.
Makes you wonder if it's inker related.
Well, I think he's doing his own inkings too.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah. And I'm sure Matt Wilson's colors, they play a lot into that.
Yeah. I mean, Wilson's a great.
Oh, dude, yeah, he's
he's
one of those that he shows up all the time. But no, I wholeheartedly agree. Like you said, the design of that dragon was bananas.
I mean, the scene where the dragon's flying off is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, from the technical standpoint, I feel like we should mention those things. But yeah, this story is, I mean, if this were an ongoing, I would be sold. Yeah. If this were a one issue, I'd be sold. If this were, I'm sold. I mean, I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
I want to see if Krylos just breaks, or if he steps up and saves his kid.
it's the adventures of a sad boy. We're gonna find out what happens. But I mean, also, like, I'm going to stick with Anka for a little bit. His economy of line is insane. That dude's able to pull out some emotion. You don't need a lot of thatching. You don't need all, like, he's kind of got thin lines. He doesn't have these big, like, huge, thick lines, and he's able to use that again. And like Matt Wilson's colors play a lot in it. But if you take it, like, sometimes it's a little trick I do. I want to see if it's the colors that are really what draw the emotion out, or if it's the pencils. I'll take a picture of it with my phone and then do a black and white filter of it and take all the color out, drain all the color out, and see if that emotion is still there. And like, there's this one scene where I did that where it's Krylos and just the sadness in that dude's eyes, and it comes from those little lines, little crow's feet he puts around his eyes, little bitty detail, just what you might think is insignificant. It's all packed in there, and it's phenomenal.
So talking about thin lines versus thick lines, I'm not an artist. My wife is an artist, and she will point out when people use thick lines, it's to cover up their inefficiencies. In some cases, thin lines, you get the more detail, you get the more technical in there. And that's not 100% because there's times when thick lines are required, of course. But if you see an artist that, on a whole, uses thicker lines all the time, they're trying to. And this is just coming from my wife. I'm not an artist. Again, I don't know. The economy of lines in this, as you put it, I mean, it's beautiful. It's well done, and you get a lot of detail because of the thinner lines. Yeah, I
think the thinner lines the thicker line gives you more control. Thinner lines require more control.
Yes,
because you're dealing with a lot more ink. You're drawing attention with the thicker line, and with a thin line, there's more of a. Again, you're getting in smaller space, smaller detail. There's more of a chance it's going to get lost and whatever. So you have to really make sure that what you're doing,
oversaturated in your colors.
Yeah, for sure. It's the difference between, if you're looking at a comic, the border of a character, or if you're going to use thin lines for like cross thatching. Like, what is that? Like that cross thatching, is it a scuff on the skin, or you use thicker line? It's like, oh, this is a gash in the dude's chest.
Right. Exactly.
So it's what.
I mean, there's times for sure. What you're trying to show, of course, determines the lines.
Yeah.
But that's a generic statement that if somebody's using more thicker lines all the time versus somebody using thinner lines, generally one's a better artist technically than the other.
Do you have a copy of Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics?
I do not.
We need to get you a copy. And there's this little, actually I think there's one on the shelf over there. There's this little section in there where he talks about line thickness, and I haven't read this, and like I need to go back and do a reread. But he talks about what your capabilities are and what it's telling the reader with that. And it's something I think personally everyone at some level should read Understanding Comics, especially if you want to talk about them. I need to go back and do a reread, but it's one of those key issues. It's
like gave me homework, especially if you want to talk about comics. You should read this book if you want to talk about comics. Did you catch that, Matt?
Not even talk about comics though. Just read. Even if you just read comics, if you want to see the difference, and it's maybe some of the stuff and why I love artists like Michel Fife, which I know is not an artist that you particularly care a whole lot about, especially like you hated his G.I. Joe stuff, Sierra Muerte stuff.
I just didn't care about the G.I. Joe stuff. But I didn't think it was fitting for G.I. Joe was my only problem. I thought it would be fitting for for other books. I just didn't find it fitting for G.I. Joe.
Okay.
So I didn't find the art bad.
Okay. See, I misunderstood there. I thought you just didn't care for his art.
I did.
And I was going to say, that's how, like, that book taught me so much in ways to look at things, because I like the weird indie comics too, and it taught me how to see things and not see it in the scope of, oh well, there's a reason this person, like, it doesn't hold like your Marvel house style on a pedestal. It just says, hey, this is one of many. And Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud is the book that like really taught me to see things.
Well, and I think that all of us have the ability to discern what we like or don't like when you're looking at at least I would hope the group of us that record the show have the ability to discern what we like in comics and what we don't. Whether you read that, I mean, as you say, people should probably read that book, but you can look and say, okay, well, I like this style. I don't like that style.
Well, and there's a big difference between I don't like it and it is bad.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of times that there's art that I'm like, it's just not my style. I just don't like that style of art. And I can go on to another book.
Anka's art is my style.
It's beautiful.
See how I looped that back in?
Yeah,
it was good. Right?
And especially in this book, it was beautiful.
Yeah. You guys got any final thoughts on the book? You got anything else you want to throw in there?
Go out and get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Check it out.
especially like I said, 2 issues. Like this isn't you're not going to spend a lot of money.
You're not talking about $100 commitment.
Yeah.
You're talking about $10.
Well, and it's really, I'm super interested to see how he wraps this up in one more issue.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
You know,
there's
just-
a lot still
yeah.
to tell.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
moving fast. It's going to move real fast. It's going to be it's an interesting thing
For sure.
for sure. Well, you want to talk about some news now? There's been some stuff. There's been some stuff happening.
Some shit happened this week. Huh?
Shit happened.
shit and stuff and shit. So I thought we didn't do this last time, and I felt that we should have, but I thought it might be a good idea to talk about comic sales. Because we did this 1 or 2 episodes beforehand.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Craig, why don't you? Because you are ready and I am not.
Yeah,
Oh, studious one.
it happened.
Why don't you run us down the list, or at least
Okay.
play a game with it? Do something. Let's do
so
this.
the first 2 books are House of X and Powers of 10.
What?
Or House of 10
I am
and
not
Powers of
surprised.
10 At a combined over 300,000 sales between the 2 books.
Yeah.
Did y'all do the math on how much revenue that is?
I did not, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
They're $6 books.
Yeah.
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 300,000 copies sold.
11, it's 1.1 million
Jesus.
for the number 1 book, House of 10.
And this
Just
is
for the
why.
number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why when Hickman walks up and says, "Hey, I want to do your X-Men, end all your X-Men books, and fire everybody that's writing them. Let me decide who gets to do what."
In fact, I'm just going to be the editor
Yeah.
and everything at the X office.
This is why Marvel turns around and goes, "Yeah, no, you are. This is true. This is the thing that's true."
Yes. and those 2 books should deservedly are the number
yeah.
1 sellers.
There's so much in
Then
those.
you had Amazing Spider-Man 25. A Spider-Man always sells well.
Mm-hmm.
This is a quote-unquote anniversary issue. It was a thicker book, had different stories in it, so those always do well. Walking Dead 193. I was reading the article on this, and they think that the sales on that are actually up closer to about 130,000, but because they did the diamond return where you could return them, they've got to post a lower number posted than what they feel they actually are at this point. Because they're not really expecting any of them to be returned based on what they're being
sure.
sold.
I mean, everybody's
for
sold
on the
out.
internet.
Yeah.
Sad moment. That's the last time we're going to see Walking Dead on a bestseller list, or a
Yeah,
new
it was-
Walking Dead comic
yeah.
on the top seller list.
The Batman Last Night on Earth number 2 and Batman Curse of the White Knight are numbers 5 and 6. This is why the Black Label is a thing, and this is why it's happening.
Yep.
They're selling 100,000 copies every time these books hit the shelf, or close to 100,000. Batman Who Laughs is number 7. Number 7 is actually number 7 on the sales. Number 8 is Black Cat, number 2. I'm really shocked to see that one on there.
Same.
I have a theory.
Do you
Black
think
Cat
it's variants? Or?
Well, Black Cat was one of the books that had, I think so far it's had 2 or 3 different art germ variants. And
For the number 2?
Yeah.
Because this is issue number 2.
When it comes to art germ variants, and this is
People
what I
are
always,
buying the shit out
yeah,
of
when
them.
you look into them, there are people, and I learned this from when I worked at Capullo Comics, which I no longer get to do because of law school, but there are people who will pick up an art germ variant who aren't reading the book. They do it with
for sure. A lot of
Batgirl
people are
books
doing that,
all
yeah.
the time. And sometimes we order more variants than we do the regular cover just because people like the art germ stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't blame them. I think it's pretty.
No,
I
it's
just
beautiful
don't
art.
understand
Yeah.
the as much. I just maybe I'm not a variant person though, but it's gorgeous.
I know for a fact my son is
Yeah.
buying all the art germ covers he can
Yeah.
find.
It's, I mean, it's
Yeah.
sexy. It's sexy art.
Yeah. Immortal Hulk number 20 is
Goddamn
number
right.
9 on the list, as it should be.
No, it should be number 1.
And if you look outside of Amazing Spider-Man, which was an anniversary issue, it's the number 1 weekly selling book
Yeah.
on here, or
Yeah.
monthly book.
For
and
Marvel.
then Batman number 74 is right below Immortal Hulk at almost 80,000 sales. And then one that surprised me that was on this list at number 15 is Invisible Woman number 1.
Ooh.
A pleasant surprise, I say.
Yeah.
I didn't read the book. I didn't buy the book because I'm not interested in Fantastic Four stuff. But I am glad to see that book getting some attention.
Mm-hmm. So a book that kind of surprised me with how far it dropped, and I guess maybe it shouldn't surprise me, but is Deceased. Because that book was, I think the last time, 2 months ago,
It was in the top.
it was number
2.
1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was number 1.
It was
Yeah.
over 200,000 copies, which that
Yeah.
was number 1.
Variants.
Yeah. But it surprised me that it dropped to number 16. I was
A lot of
surprised
people
by that.
Don't really love the out of continuity stuff
Mhm.
if it's not directly a Batman book.
Yeah.
So
A book that, you should also note is that number 23 is Immortal Hulk number 21. So the fact that it's it's on the bestsellers list twice
in 1 month.
Yeah. In the same month, that should tell you something about that book.
I wonder why that was the one with the guest artist.
Was it?
Number 21, I think, was the one with the guest artist.
It's good.
Well, I'm just wondering why it's that the sales are, difference between number 9 and 23.
I think that book's just got so much momentum.
Yeah, but I'm wondering why one.
Well, did it? So they don't have the.
Do they have the sales for number 20?
Let me look. So this was put out July 17th. Oh. Issue 21 was, and issue 20, which is actually the issue before.
So it doesn't have the full month sales on it, is what it comes.
Well, issue 20 was put out on the 3rd. So issue 20, which was I think that having the guest artist actually heard it.
If that's number 21, that would be my guess. That was kind of the point I was getting.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It went from number 9 to 23 in one issue.
Yeah, Joe Bennett.
The story is fantastic, but Joe Bennett's art on that is.
It's a big draw.
Man, yeah.
It's a big draw.
Yeah.
I think that number will pick up, though.
Oh, for sure. I don't think Immortal Hulk's going anywhere for a while. If it does, Marvel's lost their fucking marbles.
And then Fantastic Four number 12 is on the 32 spot, which makes me happy again. That was one of my short stack books because I like Sean Isaacs. I think he's great. So I don't know that I'll keep reading it if he's not on it, but it's fun to look at Sean Isaacs' stuff. It's pretty. I likes it. So there, not big surprises in the top 10. Again, with DC, only Batman books. That's it.
It's all Batman.
Yeah. It's all Batman.
DC, I mean, I don't want to be that guy because I'm not necessarily. I like both companies equally. I feel like I buy books equally from both.
I don't.
Or I used to. But I'm down to just a handful of books on DC right now.
Yeah, I'm down to just.
And I used to, and it's not that I don't want to buy DC. It's just that I just don't care about most of the books happening at DC right now.
Well, and interestingly enough, I mean, I can't complain too much. Majority of the books I'm reading at DC are Batman books.
Yeah.
I'm still reading Hawkman, but Brian Hitch is off that book now. So we'll see where that goes. I'm reading Wonder Woman. I'm not reading any Superman.
I dropped off of Hawkman. I'm still buying it because I'll probably read it as an entirety, is my guess. But I just don't care about the majority of the books coming out at DC right now.
Yeah. Same here.
Speaking of books coming out at DC, did you guys notice something? There was like a weird little blip in the comics world. DC reached out to all of its retailers and sent them a message and said, hey, we're going to replace all the issues of Superman 14 and Supergirl 33 with new versions that have different covers. So we need you to destroy the covers that you get initially or that you already have.
And that happened. All of the retailers.
Oh yeah, like none of them
immediately.
None of them made
up.
it to eBay or anything.
Yeah. None of them put them on eBay.
Oh my gosh.
None of them say, oh well, this is a chance for me to double my profits from these things.
Yeah.
And
they're all over eBay. There's issues going up for over $100, $160 right now.
And you know what those books are going to be worth? In
$3.99 or $1.
They'll be $5 books for maybe $10 books, but they aren't going to be $100 books. I mean, there's as many of them out there as there are the other books.
Yeah.
So actually, what you have is an extended print run that are going to be considered first print on this. You have 2 covers. Yeah, it's. If you're spending $150 on this book, you just don't like your money.
Hey, you could give that to us. We'll take it. So the big question with this is why, right? Like, why would they do this? And there's a few internet rumors floating around. The kind of prominent one, or preeminent one, I should say, is that they draw one of the characters the wrong race on the cover. Okay. So in the articles I've read and speculation I've seen online, which again, completely speculation, what their verbiage that DC used is the content on the cover relates to the content inside in a way that that was not supposed to happen.
So my understanding was that they had the Year of the Villain on them, and they're not direct tie-ins to the Year of the Villain.
Yeah, stuff. The pacing got screwed up. Is what the way I interpreted it.
The books that were, as Matt said, the pacing, they were supposed to be originally Year of the Villain stories.
Yeah.
But because of the stories that were already ongoing, those stories didn't
line up correctly.
They didn't line up correctly. That's my understanding now. I mean, it very well could be what you're saying.
Well, and I think
combination.
What it like again, if you read between the lines on that, something on those covers spoils something.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. which was just
well,
kinda
and also the
interesting.
fact that it says Year of the Villain. If there's people that are buying all the Year of the Villain stuff as a crossover event, but then there's no Year of the Villain stuff in there.
Yeah.
So
DC showing their hand a little bit too early. That's editorial stuff.
Yeah.
Like somebody didn't do. Speaking of DC stuff, in what should be happy news, Greg Capullo, he renewed his exclusivity contract with DC, and I went yay because I love Big Poppy. I love Poppy Capullo.
Same.
And then he prominently or he immediately just stepped on my hopes and dreams and said, and me and Scott Snyder are going to work on our next project together, and it's going to be bigger than ever, and it's the best thing. And I'm just like, no,
Same.
get away,
Yeah.
get far,
Kind
far
of the
away.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially if they're the team that's back on Batman now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be
Yeah.
happy.
Me either.
Because of the way that
Mm-hmm.
Keane got released from Batman.
Yeah.
If it ends up being Snyder taking it back over,
Yeah.
I might, for the first time
I'll drop it.
in 15 years, cancel my
Yeah.
Batman.
Yeah, same
subscription.
here. Well, and I would drop it just because I don't like what Scott Snyder's doing with
No.
Batman. I haven't liked what he's done with Batman for years now, and it just seems to get
And
worse.
Detective
from
Comics is a better Batman
It-
book right
yeah.
now. I mean, Batman's getting back to that.
It's
but
better Batman and better classic Batman stories. But I think the thing to remember, like they announced a while back that he was like this. They did a thing. It's like the last night on Earth is going to be my last Batman story with Greg Capullo ever. He also said it was going to be his last story with Capullo ever.
Yeah.
And that's obviously wrong.
Yeah.
But I think that hopefully they are going to get away from Batman. There's rumors. A lot of people want him to do Swamp Thing, which I don't. I don't want him writing Swamp Thing.
I will tell you that would probably be the place I would be most happy with him going.
Yeah.
Because it's horror, and Scott Snyder does horror pretty well. Horror, not horror.
Southmouth. I can say that, in my personal opinion, Scott Snyder should thank some god, whatever god he prays to, that Greg Capullo likes him. Because Greg Capullo is the only thing that is dragging Scott Snyder's career along at this point, because he ain't writing shit that I want to read. And he ain't, he ain't
That's
written
fair.
shit that I want. Like,
I'm on a little bit different page
Yeah.
than the two of you, but I have not been happy with the last few things Snyder wrote.
it's not.
I'll give you that. I haven't been
not
happy
there.
since the end of the Batman run.
No. Let's talk about happy things.
Yeah,
You want to talk about happy things?
Yeah. Let's talk about Hickman. Let's go to happy.
Yeah, happy things. Hickman got accused of plagiarism.
That's happy.
in happy news. So I say that he didn't. I think that was more for sensationalist news articles and everything. He wasn't actually accused of plagiarism per se. What he did get accused of is hitting a little bit too close to home for a book that he has a novel, a young adult graphic novel that he has been on the record of liking a lot.
Yeah.
And
August.
yeah, and so it's by an author named Claire North is who wrote the book. It's just so, and it comes out of the Moira, the Many Lives of Moira McTaggart, and the way that they did those timelines. Some folks say it's a little bit too close to what Claire North did in her other book. I don't know. I haven't read the book.
That's what I was going to say. I haven't read Harry August.
It's one of those things where I'm just like unless he completely stole everything, then maybe shut up a little bit, because look, writers borrow from writers all the time.
Plot device is
Yeah.
different than narrative.
No.
And he's using it as a plot device where
Yeah.
hers was the basis of her story.
Yeah.
He came out and said this. He's like, now because of this, he's having to reveal what I said when we reviewed, that he's using it as a plot device, and it's a brilliant plot device to retcon the X-Men.
Yeah.
So he said that in his response to her. He's like, this, that's a fantastic book. I love it.
Mhm.
But I'm using this as a plot device to make the retcon of the X-Men go down a little.
Yeah, it was your story. It's a blip on mine.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, if you go and read that book, and I guarantee you people have, especially when you got guys like Hickman who are touting it, you're going to find things that she borrowed or quote unquote stole. Well, I like to use borrowed because all writers do it, but there's only like 6 original stories, and they were all written like as soon as people figured out what letters were.
Shakespeare
they're on
wrote them
caves.
all.
Yeah.
Well, whoever wrote Shakespeare's books.
Yeah. His
plays.
assistants.
Yeah.
But, we all borrow from each other. All writers do that. And that's what makes it good.
Unless you've never sat down and read anybody else's stories.
Yeah.
subconsciously you're going to put stuff from
Yeah.
other people's stories into your own.
Because especially us, we live in a world, like my entire existence is stories.
Yeah.
Whether it's stories that I read in my comics or stories that I read in cases in the law books that I study, which inspire stories that I'm going to read in my comics. I mean, it's very incestuous. And that's what it is.
Well,
we all
and
borrow.
Again, using it as a plot device is not the same as making it the overall narrative of your story, which
Yeah.
is what her story is, from my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Her story is 100% about a person that relives their life with the same knowledge
Yeah.
of what had happened in their previous life over and over.
Which is not a unique. She did not create that concept.
No.
That whole
No, I
concept has been around for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the Tom Cruise movie from a couple of years ago,
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing that happens.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and other news, she's getting a lot of publicity for her.
Yeah, I'm sure
her
sales
book
are
now.
speaking just because of. I'm sure they're peaking just
Yeah.
because of this.
Yeah.
Because I mean, straight up, I haven't ordered it, but it's because I don't have any law school money right now. But I might, I might someday.
I may get it on Audible and listen to it if it's available.
That'd be cool. I always forget I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's a lot to do about nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she's got enough grounds to stand on to sue him or anything like that.
No.
So, or win. She can sue him if she wants, but she's not going to win it.
Speaking of a lot to do about nothing, Marvel is releasing a book, and it is a kind of historical comics book about comics that were written in the World War II era. And in doing so, they reached out to what some consider to be an expert, what I consider to be an expert in the World War II area and in comics about the World War II era, and that was Mr. Art Spiegelman. He wrote and drew the multiple award-winning a book that I consider to be in the pantheon of comics, Mouse. And he's also the child of a Holocaust survivor, somebody who was in the camps, and that's where a lot of Mouse comes from. And so they got him to write the introduction, which I think is a great idea. That's who you get. When you want to talk about that, especially when you're talking about books that show people like Captain America punching Hitler, right? The issue...
It's only political if you're if you're pro-Nazi.
That's true. In his introduction, Art Spiegelman put in one little comment about he connected the world of Captain America and World War II to our current political situation, and he made a reference to the Orange Skull, which it doesn't take a lot to realize that he's talking about Donald Trump, who is, in my opinion, a fascist, who is the president, who is a white supremacist. And, he's just not a good person. You can at me on Twitter or whatever if you don't like what I just said. I don't give a shit. I'll tell you you're wrong. I'll use Craig's words. You're wrong. But
I love that that's what I'm known for.
Marvel came out and said, hey, like, we get it. This is not what we were going for, though. Like, you want to make comments about fascism, make them. You want to make comments about Hitler, make them. But can you please revise this and take the Orange Skull reference out? And Spiegelman said no. And I've got the utmost respect for that man for doing so. But he said, no, I'm going to take my ball and I'll go home. So he pulled his entire essay and then gave it to The Guardian to print later. And you can read the full text of his essay online. I did. It's brilliant. It's absolutely the type of introduction. But, of course, this created a big uproar. A lot of people tied it into the fact, and myself included, tied it into the fact that Ike Perlmutter is, I forget what his exact title is, CEO or something.
He's president of the board or something on Disney.
For Marvel, and of course he's a big Trump supporter. He's a Trump mega donor, and of course there were people talking about, this like we need to boycott Marvel, and which I think is silly personally. But so, and I think Craig, I don't know. It's weird to say, guys. I don't think we fall in two different camps in it, but I can also understand why Marvel didn't want that in there, and why they asked him to revise it because of like. Talking about history, maybe don't bring it back into direct things that is still very divisive. And I get why they wouldn't want to do that. And I also completely understand why Spiegelman took his ball and went home. And I think he made the right choice. I understand both parties. Where did you guys come down on this?
I think that because Marvel has a lot of autonomy in what they write in their stories. They don't generally get censored from up above. They have, I'm not going to say a lot of politics, but they do put politics in their books. They put current events in their books because you have to be a reflection of what's happening in the world when you write stories. That's a whole other topic, whether they should do that or not. So they have some autonomy in this stuff. So they went to somebody that they thought, hey, he's known for this.
Yeah.
Was it a mistake? No, it's not a mistake. But they probably never thought higher up on the board was going to come back and say, this is a little much, guys. And I agree with Jason Wood's assessment of it, that if you're writing a historical, you're writing an essay to open a historical book, maybe leave the current affairs stuff
stick
out
to
of it.
history.
Yeah. So I don't think either side is wrong.
Yeah.
I think they both handled it well. Spiegelman, hey, I'm not going to revise what I wrote. I'm going to take my stuff and I'm going to go ahead and publish it so people can read what I said. You guys find somebody else, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
And Marvel said, okay, well, that's fine with us. We'll find somebody else. I don't think there's any bad feelings between the two.
No, I don't think so.
I think that I don't think this is censorship. It may be in a small way it is censorship, but they're under no obligation to print something because somebody wrote it.
For sure.
I mean, I agree with what Craig says. I could definitely see there's two different ways to see this from Marvel's perspective, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. However, I do disagree. I full on believe this is censorship. I mean, to me, that's exactly what they did. Is they're censoring what he offered. But I'm not saying they're out. I mean, that's their right to do that.
Prerogative.
I mean, this is not a free speech issue. This is a commercial issue.
There you go.
So, I mean, they can censor all they want. That's part of their rights as a publisher. But
That's what I was meaning. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So, but I really do respect what Spiegelman did and just said, well, if you want me to alter any of it, then it's not mine anymore. It's not my, so I'm just going to take it and give it to somebody else. So, I'm not, it'd be real easy to say, this is a pro-Trump Marvel move, but I can see the other side of that. I mean, I can see, you just want this to be a pure historical reflection and looping it around to anything going on today. It changes the perspective of the book. So I could see that. I mean, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that.
That's my thought.
And my benefit of the doubt comes from the fact that history has already judged the Nazis. History has already judged Hitler. History has not judged Donald Trump yet.
That's right.
I think it's going to. And I think history is going to judge it. I mean, maybe this is my own personal hopes and hopes for the world, really. We'll move into a different direction. I hope history judges the Trump administration and people like the Proud Boys and who just got ran out of Northwest America. Yeah.
Northwest America.
Yeah. I went blank there for a second. I think that history is going to judge them to be very poor people, to be very bad people, that they are going to be fascists and racist and everything. But we don't know that yet. And so I think it's too early to include that in what is essentially a historical treatise of things like the concentration camps, things like the Nazis' eradication of gays, of Jews, of gypsies, of people of African descent who were living in Central Europe at the time. I think it's too close to do that. And so, I get it. So as this podcast progresses and as I start going through law school, you're going to hear me start equating things that are going on in my life to the podcast. I think precedent is a very important thing. I would have, if this came out in a book of historical measure was being written during the Obama administration, and somebody had have written a really snarky remark about the Obama administration because of the number of mass deportations that they did during that era, I wouldn't have thought it was a good place. And that's because of my personal political views. And so I don't want the precedent set up that, we don't like this, let's just not include it. Plus, so there's also the people who are calling saying, hey, we need to start boycotting Marvel because of Ike Perlmutter and this, that, and the other. If I walk you over to the Marvel shelf right now, I can find you books about strong women. I can find you books about strong people of color. I can find you books that include LGBTQ individuals. The comics, the things that Marvel is producing, the movies. We're getting ready. We arguably have already had a queer character in Valkyrie on the big screen. The material that Marvel is producing is very progressive. Maybe use the word liberal. I don't know. Why? You can't boycott that. Maybe I don't know. I don't know that you can or you can't. But also, if you're asking permission from other people to boycott, then you're not really boycotting for the right reasons. You choose to boycott things for personal reasons. I don't ask people whether or not I should not eat Chick-fil-A. I just don't eat fucking Chick-fil-A. So if you're trying to get online, rabble-rousing, oh, can we do this now? My question is going to be, well,
if you want to,
yeah, why are you not already doing this if it goes against your beliefs?
Go vote.
Go vote. Yeah.
That's my better idea.
Yeah.
Make a difference where you're really going to make a difference, because you know, boycotting Marvel's not going to make a difference. They're still going to have, you know, $1 billion ticket sales every fucking movie that comes out.
Well, and you're also, if you're boycotting Marvel, I think your protest is misplaced, because all these things that Caleb just referenced, you're also going to be boycotting all these other works that seem to be totally in line with what you want.
And a lot of anti-fascism in those books, too.
Well, and not only that, if you boycott Marvel, you're not fucking with Ike Perlmutter's wallet. No. Like, if it's big enough, the board might vote him off. I seriously doubt that happens. I don't think that's going to happen at all. That dude is still going to be a billionaire when he walks away from the table, and he's going to still give the same amount of campaign dollars as written by law that he gave before to the same people, and you've just given him incentive and anger to go and do more. So he can go make 100 shell corporations, and they can all donate the maximum amount, which is kind of how our political system in America works. It's really sad. I hate it. Hopefully we'll change it someday, but it's how it works. Billionaires can open up, like they can only donate a certain amount per person. They are not regulated on how many shell corporations they can go start. They can go pay the fees and start up 100 LLCs today. And each of those LLCs can then, under the influence of political free speech, can donate the maximum amount. That's how they get away with it. That's how they buy elections. So, no, boycotting Marvel's not going to do a goddamn thing. It's silly. Don't be silly.
Yeah.
You silly.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I made Matt laugh. Matt, you're silly.
That's an excellent way to cap off that diatribe there.
It was good, right? It was good. Also, a reason not to boycott Marvel is because sometimes they sneak original art into your comics, and that's really cool. And sometimes it's really awesome original art. Just by way of question, did any of you guys open up your Absolute Carnage #1s?
No, I did not get one of the 20 comic books that had art in it.
So 20 lucky people. And what's crazy is I'm really surprised, as tied into the comics online world as I am, I haven't seen anybody who's gotten this. So it makes me think. I did an
eBay search and I couldn't find any today.
It makes me think that the comic shops found these.
I would think they would be on eBay.
And pulled it. Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
If the comic shops found them, they'd be on eBay.
So 20 lucky people opened up their Absolute Carnage #1s by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, an original piece of art by fucking Mark Bagley fell out.
Yeah.
Mark motherfucking Bagley. This never happens to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you got one of these pieces of art, you should probably go play Powerball.
No shit.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about 20, and I don't know what the sales for Absolute Carnage were, but I'm going to assume it's probably in the 100,000, 120,000 range. You know, so, you know,
they got me to
math, read it. You know, 1 in 60 or 1 in 6,000.
Something like that.
Something like that. I mean, come on.
Did you guys read Absolute Carnage?
No.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I checked. I didn't check all of the variant covers I have for it.
Gotcha.
Because I had heard it was only in the main cover, but I may go check
shake them loose a little bit.
They're actually attached in the book, I think. I don't think they're loose.
They must be attached, because they'll just be falling out all over the place.
Yeah. So if you pull them out, you get docked on your CGC grade, right?
I'm sure.
Well, not if. Yeah, I mean, it depends on if you pull it out, but no one knew that it was in that book. No,
I want those people don't deserve that nicety. Yeah. If I'll spring a question on you, if you guys were to open up a book and it had an original piece of art in it by an artist who's currently working, who would you want it to be?
Oh wow.
God!
Yeah, I'll start since it was my question. Idea. If I open up a comic and I shake it and a piece of OA fell out at right now, I want it to be Tradmore.
Oh, nice. That's a good one.
I want a piece of Tradmore art so bad.
I'd take Liam Sharp.
Oh yeah.
Oh my man, I'm struggling. I've been put on the spot.
I'm sorry.
While he's thinking about it, I will tell you that I was one of the winners for the Sex Criminals that had the original art on the cover. It was him taking a shit on the cover because it's Chip Zdarsky, but yeah.
Man, gosh, dog, man, I don't know. I'm stumped. I can't. Picking the artist I would want.
Yeah.
There's not a wrong answer.
I don't say how you pick that. I got so many names going through my head right now.
There's not a wrong answer. Just pick one.
I guess I'd have to say Greg Capullo.
There you go. Big Poppy. It's not a bad one. I wish he was able to do that. I wish he'd come over to Marvel. But, you know, he's signing contracts and shit. I'm disgruntled about it.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of that's mainly all the comics news that I think is, I mean, really interesting to talk about. There was a little blip that I was actually, it's one of those things where I don't know enough about it that I could speak to it. But the writer of Boruto got in a little bit of hot water over the lack of LGBTQ characters in his story. Boruto is a spinoff of Naruto, so they tell me. And his answer was, well, yeah, but I'm a straight dude and I don't want to get yelled at for not writing queer characters the right way, which I think is understandable, but also a cop-out. Because I think, if you're worried about it, let queer people read your stuff first. And also maybe don't write shitty characters. But you can write a character without trying to write their experiences if you're an expert. You can just include them. People do that all the time. There's LGBTQ side characters. Some of the stories that I write some trans characters, and I get trans people to read them first to make sure I'm not being insensitive or just ignorant. But that's how you do it. It's not hard. So I think it's a little bit of a cop-out.
I do too.
Yeah. I mean, I felt it was a cop-out too, but,
It makes me think years ago, somebody called out the Image founders because when Image launched, there's like no female characters.
Yeah.
And they all were like, well, I don't know how to write women.
Yeah.
And that was everybody had the same defense. It's that's pretty weak, bro.
Now, the thing I did read on this was that he says that some of his characters are gay.
They're just not stated.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's weak, brother.
So weak.
It's weak. But, he's saying that they are, but it's not part of their story.
Yeah.
So
it
helps him create that character.
Yeah.
But it's weak.
It's Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It's coming out later and saying, hey, Dumbledore's really gay.
Yeah. Which
when
still
it wasn't in the
annoys
story.
me.
Yeah.
Not that he's gay. Not at all.
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah. What? And then... And when did the gay man go from wearing really nice suits to wearing a robe?
I wear a robe.
You retired?
No, he went to work at Hogwarts and quit wearing really nice suits.
Yeah. I mean, it's flashy.
Maybe.
It had tassels. It was a thing. I'm the gay man. We love tassels.
Did he bedazzle his robe?
Not that I remember.
So over in the TV news, Jeff Loeb kind of spun up the rumor mill but didn't confirm anything. It was again.
We're doing a thing.
Yeah, pretty much. It was more.
Maybe.
You said the perfect thing earlier, Craig. It was much to do about nothing.
Yeah.
He really just said that they have more plans for street level characters, but that's it, and that's kind of information we already knew. But of course, the internet being the internet and rumor mills being rumor mills, like everybody was like, "Oh, you're doing Moon Knight," and they started listing off this list of street level characters, and he didn't confirm anything.
Well, you're talking about Disney Plus app coming here in November. If you think that Marvel, this was an announcement that didn't need to be made if you didn't have anything to make with it.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew Marvel was going to release some shows on this channel. Just as Lucasfilm is. I mean, you're going to have Star Wars, you're going to have Marvel movies, it's what this app is designed for.
Yeah.
They want this to be the number one streaming app, and they're the number one at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
Disney is consistently number one at the box office with their Marvel movies and their Star Wars movies and their Disney movies. You're going to put all three of those things in one app?
Yeah.
Of course there's going to be fucking street level
They're
Marvel
not going to
movies.
not do anything with it.
Yeah, I mean, come on. And they're going to offer it for cheaper than Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is... I'll wait for more information on this. But, I mean, whatever they give us, we're all going to eat it up and we're going to like it.
Yeah. This might be my Christmas present to me from my husband or to me. I might go ahead and get the Disney
It's
app.
a cheap add-on to the Hulu.
Yeah. So
app. So the fact that you don't have to spend the full $8 to buy it separately if you already have Hulu.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it's going to be added on. Probably $4 or $5 would be my guess.
I just canceled my Comixology account, which was $8 a month. I just canceled. I had Amazon Prime is actually tiered, and you can do just regular Amazon Prime, and then you can get all these extra add-ons that let you watch certain things for free. I dropped mine back down. I'm trying to save some money, right? Like I'm going to law school. I don't have time to be doing this stuff, and I never watch TV anyway.
Right.
So I may look at what all I can cancel.
Sounds like you've canceled enough to cover that.
Well, I have. I may go ahead and there's a few different Patreons that I'm a member of that really never do anything.
Yeah, I've got a few of those.
So I may cancel a few of those. Do y'all? You do. I know you do Patreon. Do you do any Patreon, Matt?
I do have some Patreon Mine are all podcasts, though.
Yeah.
Sports podcasts that I listen to.
We need to maybe do a special one time about which ones we.
We should, because there's I can recommend some good ones. Like
because there's some more that Charles Soule does one that's on the level of Justin Jordan, but he sold out of them because Justin Jordan, the level I've got with him, you get everything he does every month.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets it in, he signs it and sends it to you.
Yeah.
So it's pretty badass, and it doesn't matter what it is.
And if he hits a month where he doesn't have anything coming out, because he did this to you a few months ago, he just sends you some extra stuff that he didn't write, which I think is badass.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah, I just thought that was super cool that he did that.
Yeah.
I'm on his $5 tier, so I get scripts and stuff from him.
Yeah.
Which, if you want to be a writer, that's a great thing to do. And then I'm on the 11 o'clock comics $20 tier, which you get to vote on stuff. You get to access to a whole different thing. Big group of friends. Yeah, I'm excited. We'll see. Do any of y'all watch the CW shows?
Negative.
I do not. I started when they came out, and I kind of moved away from them. I think you're going to the Crisis event.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. I may actually watch this, because if they're doing Crisis on Infinite Earths, you've got me curious.
I'm definitely interested, but I gave up on these shows a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's enough to bring me back to it.
Same.
So I know Bill Zanowitz from the Comic Book Bears podcast, he's really into these shows. So here's what I want people to do. If you're listening to this podcast, I want you to start a thread on our Facebook group. And if you're not a member of our Facebook group, you should be. All you got to do is type in Southern Fried Geekery Podcast in the little search bar, and we'll pop up. I want someone, some blessed soul, to start up a feed on the page and tell us which of these shows we should watch and why, and maybe keep an active thing about what's going on through this Crisis event, and kind of keep us up to date. Because I'm not, like I said, I may tap into it, I may not. I don't have network television. I went off the grid with that. I've just got Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon right now, so I can't keep up to date with it the way other people can. So y'all let us know. Let us know what we should think about this, or if we should tap in. Maybe that's the right thing. And it'll be a cool conversation anyway.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, all right. That's really all I got on the news. Was there anything from you guys that you wanted to really break in?
I wanted to throw something in really quick. So for under a DC solicitations, I noticed coming up later this year, a series called Far Sector.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, this is going to be written by N.K. Jemisin, art by Jamal Campbell. This writer is actually a writer I'm familiar with. She is a award-winning sword and sorcery fantasy writer.
We're changing that. That's going to be the
Sword and Sandals.
Yeah, sword and sandals for our end of the year thing.
Yeah. So, and I bring this up because I searched, because I've read a lot of fantasy. Sword and sorcery's fantasy genre, but you know what I've noticed, and what I've brought up before on the show, is how whitewashed that genre tends to be.
Yeah.
So I did a search on African American fantasy writers, and she popped up. So she's won some awards for what's called the Broken Earth series, which I read. Very good. It's a unique story. It's very creative. It's actually been optioned for a television show.
Nice.
And her books, the Broken Earth books, are actually being turned into an RPG series. So just something, I think it's worth bringing attention, because she kind of breaks the mold in that genre. And she's really good writer. I mean, it's solid. Her stuff's really easy to read and easy to follow.
Okay.
So
just kind of keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
I think it's worth noting.
Okay.
Very cool. Check that out.
More fantasy. More sword and sandals.
Yeah.
Not from a white guy.
Hey, we need those voices.
Sure.
And I say that as a white guy. We need more voices, because you're going to get better stories. I'm a big fan of Conan, but after so many years, maybe we need another perspective on that character or on that world. Maybe not with Conan, but with all of those type of characters, to give us a little bit of a taste of what else it can be. I love the expansion of these characters, especially these characters who have a long legacy.
I mean, you got the Black Coast, and there's no black people on it.
Yeah. Maybe fix that. Well, all right. Do we want to kind of wrap this thing up?
Sure.
All right. Well, let's do that. Well, the way we like to wrap up a show on the Southern Fried Geekery podcast is by giving you guys a little bit of a taste. We're gonna set the menu for you next week and tell you, just give you a little bit of an idea of what is going to hit the shelves. And we're going to speculate a little bit. We're going to tell you what we think might be good and what we think you might enjoy if you go pick it up. And that, we could be wrong. I mean, sometimes for our Book of the Week episodes, we'll pick the book that we picked from the week before because it was amazing. Sometimes we pretend like we didn't say we read it because it wasn't, but that's okay. They can't all be winners. Sometimes
you can be excited about something and then it's not good.
Yeah, and then it lets you down. Then you get to just find something else.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of comics coming out.
What I don't do is get online and bitch about it.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't tag creators
and how shitty they are
and bad things. You also shouldn't tag creators just because you want them to fight your fights for you. There was a news thing that came out. Now we didn't include it in the news because it's just one of those issues.
Or tag the victims.
Yeah. There's It's don't do that. If you're curious about what we're talking about, you can find it online. But it stalled some projects. But apparently there's this shithead of a dude who likes to go on Twitter, and when he sees people arguing about things, he'll tag the people that are being spoken about and tag like victims of like hate crimes in it, and be like, "Hey, see, this is why I do this," and it's
to protect this person.
Yeah.
I'm a safe place for them. Let me bring them into this argument so they can relive it.
I absolutely hate the phrase virtue signaling because I don't like. There's 99.9% no good way. People aren't actually being nice when they talk about it, but that's 1,000% virtue signaling because you're doing it for you and not them. So don't do that.
Yep.
But what you should do is you should check out next week a book called Strayed that's coming out, and it's coming out from Dark Horse, and it's being written by Carlos Giafani. And it's being drawn, and this is the important part. This is definitely why I think you should pick this up. It's being drawn by Wando, who is I love that dude's art. He's spectacular. And this is a little bit of it's a futuristic tale where the military-industrial complex is, maybe it's not so futuristic. It reigns over all of humanity and actively destroys distant alien worlds. And the galaxy's only hope is this little pair. It's an astral projecting kitty cat named Lou and his loving owner Kiara. And even though I'm not a cat person, Wando is going to pull me in, and I mean, maybe I can enjoy a story about a kitty cat. Why not?
So I have a Wando story.
Do you?
Is my book of the week.
Really?
Set in the menu.
What is it?
Reception number 1. It is Aftershock Comics. It is written and drawn and colored by Wando.
Sometimes I think we share a brain.
Sometimes,
like, at least like a lobe.
And the premise of this story is what happens when a celebrity wedding takes place where there is no Wi-Fi or cell service or any other access to the outside world, and guests start getting killed. Well, it's horror and mayhem, of course.
Oh my god!
Is this did you say the publisher? Did I miss
it's
that?
Aftershock.
Is it? Yeah.
Celebrity wedding.
Dude, but they all get killed.
We've broken Matt.
They all get killed. What part of this are you having a hard time understanding?
So it's a one issue?
No. It's going to happen over a few issues.
Oh, that's too long.
He wants a bloodbath. He wants a celebrity massacre.
Celebrity wedding!
Did we break him?
I feel like it. He's just screaming into the void.
You need a hug, Matt?
Oh,
you're silly.
So I'm assuming that celebrity or bad reception is not your book of the week.
Okay. What's your book of the week, buddy?
So what jumped out to me is this, I just want to keep bringing attention to this series, Criminal by Image Comics, Criminal number 7. Go pick this up, people.
It's goodness.
Yeah.
Who's that by?
Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, and Jacob Phillips.
You should get punched in the balls.
Yeah.
But they may not have balls to get punched in. It's not fair.
Okay. And the ovaries then. If you have no balls, you're getting punched in your ovaries.
I don't support that approach. I just want to say that.
the one, it's not on his hierarchy of violence. That's the one thing he doesn't support.
Punching in ovaries.
No, it's great. This is something I hope I need to get more of these hardcovers on my shelf at home because it's just so good. So good. Well, all right. Do we have anything else we need to talk about? We got anything pressing? Any new things? No? Ready to do this?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
put a bow on it.
We really, really encourage you to come hang out with us on the Facebooks. It's the hotness. It's where we're all kicking it during the week. Where we talk about things we don't talk about on the show, and I think that's encouraging. And there's people there that you will learn to love. Maybe some you won't, but that's okay. It's a lot of fun, man. We have a really positive environment. We don't have any shenanigans that take place. I don't want to say we guard it really well, but you're allowed to voice your opinion there, unless your opinion is really asinine, and we don't stifle it too much. And we're not going to let anybody go after you. It is a nice place. If you're not on the Facebooks, and that's not your deal, it's not your cup of tea, you can check out some of the things that we are reading. We post pictures and we post all kind of like different panels and stuff we find funny throughout the week on our Instagram page. We're at SFG Podcast on that. And we're tweeting stuff. We're tweeting stuff we're reading. We're tweeting at creators when we like their stuff. We're encouraging. Just sometimes we share news on Twitter, and we're at SFG Podcast on that. And we would love it if you'd follow us. It would just make me pleased as punch. We'll give you a cookie if we see you.
Pleased as punch.
My little old lady vocabulary kicking in. So go do those things. And if nothing further, go forth and love some comics. Woo! Yeah. Bye, guys.